The top guys are back in AEW as FTR make their return at Revolution last night. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling after last night's AEW Revolution pay-per-view. One of the biggest stories coming out of last night's show is the return of the former AEW, Ring of Honor, IWGP, AAA, Raw, SmackDown, NXT Tag Team Champions. The top guys are back in All Elite Wrestling for the first time since December, after the Gun successfully defended their AEW World Tag Team Championships against three separate teams at AEW Revolution. FTR made their emphatic return and made their intentions clear as to what is next in their professional wrestling careers. Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler attacked the Guns as they spoke to Renee Paquette post-match, setting their sights on challenging for the bouts they've previously held. During the brawl, Harwood cut himself open, gushing blood as the duo celebrated their return. Previously, of course, FTR had been very vague about what is next for them in their careers, leaving several options open along the way, with Tony Khan hoping to see them back in AEW, but seemingly unsure if indeed it would happen. Although their appearance does not confirm the team is re-signing with the company, as their contracts do expire in April, the return could either be the beginning of a new run for the group or, of course, their last ride in All Elite Wrestling. The duo has teased returning to WWE, wrestling on the Indies or in Japan, and returning to AEW in the past, making it very unclear as to what is next and what the next move is for one of the greatest tag teams of the modern era. The Guns won their Revolution match by landing their finish to Danhausen, pinning him to secure their first title defense since winning the titles on the February 2nd edition of AEW Dynamite. The Sons of Billy Gunn, sometimes known as the Ass Boys, already own a victory over FTR, which they secured in FTR's most recent AEW match on December 21st. Now, as far as what the plans are for FTR and AEW going forward, we kind of have a bit more of an update on that as well. According to wrestling Twitter account WRKD Wrestling, they have tweeted, and spoilers ahead, quote, "Despite how things may seem, as of right now, FTR are still the team slated to eventually take the AEW World Tag Team Championships off the Gun Club." Now, after making their surprise return on last night's AEW pay-per-view, AEW Revolution, both members of FTR have also shared their thoughts via Twitter after making a return to a thunderous crowd reaction earlier on in the night. After the pay-per-view's conclusion, Dax Harwood tweeted, quote, "We ain't done yet," with Cash Wheeler writing, quote, "Missed you too." FTR, as I mentioned, returned to AEW on last night's March 5th pay-per-view, AEW Revolution, but that was just one of several newsworthy events that, of course, we'll cover in depth throughout today here on the channel. But it's certainly interesting. It's got a lot of people talking about what the future does look like for Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood, and if anything, it's almost become even more murkier, even more confusing, because the longer that they stayed away from AEW, the general feeling and sentiment was that they were on the way out. Of course, we were talking about just last week when AEW were posting these Twitter posts on social media and throughout all of their social media accounts congratulating the various members of AEW that had won awards via the Wrestling Observer Newsletter 2022 awards, that FTR were left out of. I think it was Feud of the Year or Tag Team Feud of the Year, whatever the award was. It was FTR versus the Briscoes because of their unbelievable trilogy of matches in Ring of Honor. Now, eventually, they did post about FTR versus the Briscoes, but they highlighted more on Mark and Jay Briscoe as opposed to Wheeler and Harwood. And it led to some people speculating, was there actually legitimate heat with FTR and the office in AEW? We've heard these stories about FTR legitimately not getting on with the Guns, legitimately maybe not getting on with the Elite, particularly the Young Bucks as well. So there was this feeling of, actually, with their contracts being up in April, are they on their way out of the company? Have they decided not to go back there? And the general feeling was as well, given the popularity of WWE and the rise of WWE in the Triple H era, the Triple H regime, that maybe they would go back to WWE. Of course, they've got great relationships with Triple H. They were incredibly successful in NXT when Triple H was the executive producer and booker of the then black and gold version of WWE's developmental brand. So there was a feeling of maybe they're going to go back to WWE, maybe they're going to go back to have their final run, their last run in the company there. there, and maybe that's where they're going to finish their career off. Of course, Dax Howard on his podcast has also spoken quite openly about the next contract that FTR signed is going to be his last contract in professional wrestling. So he wants to make sure that he gets it right. He wants to make sure that the next decision is the right one for him, for his tag team, for his family, and for his career. And whilst it felt likely at one point that FTR was going to be going back to WWE and I guess wrestling as the Revival once more, he did also say in a recent episode of his FTR podcast with Matt Coon that actually Vince McMahon's possible return was absolutely a factor that they were considering when it came to their futures. And as I said earlier on, and as the reports have said earlier on too, just because they've returned for the pay-per-view last night does not mean that they are going to be sticking around when it comes to AEW moving forward. There is absolutely a chance, there's absolutely a possibility that this is the final run, the last ride for FTR and AEW. Their contracts are up in April. We don't know when in April. We don't know if it's the beginning or the end of April. If it's the beginning, you could argue that they come back for, a month and they finish things up, they put over the guns once more and then they leave. Or if it's at the end of April, we could maybe see it get extended towards Double or Nothing. They could have their swan song at Double or Nothing, which is in May, but they could sign a short extension. That's a possibility as well. So as is the case with anything when it comes to pro wrestling, you have to be cognizant and aware of a possible work or them being economical with the truth. Dax Howard is certainly making a lot of headlines when it comes to his podcast. Of course, FTR reportedly generated heat backstage for Howard's comments regarding CM Punk and the brawl-out situation, and essentially saying what is the truth, which is there are multiple different aspects of what actually happened and people have contrasting information, and we're probably never going to actually know the real, true, definite facts because nobody's actually allowed to speak about what actually happened when it comes to that entire situation. So the FTR situation now is really, really interesting. But if WRKD Wrestling's report is indeed accurate, and recently they've been pretty nailed on, particularly when it comes to the Women's Tag Team Championship storyline in WWE regarding Lita, Becky Lynch, and Trish Stratus. If indeed that is accurate, then FTR are slated to be the next AEW World Tag Team Champions. And logically, one would say, why would Tony Khan put the AEW World Tag Team Championships on a tag team that he knows isn't going to be around much longer? However, some people would also say, well, he did put the TNT Championship on Cody Rhodes at the time that Cody Rhodes did not have a contract with AEW and was actually about to leave the company, and he left to WWE. Of course, Rhodes did drop the TNT Championship prior to going to WWE, and also he had William Regal be heavily influential in an AEW World Championship storyline when he also knew that William Regal was going to leave All Elite Wrestling. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for FTR to win the AEW World Tag Team Championships when Tony Khan knows that they're going to be leaving the territory very soon, even though that's a logical thing to think. So when it comes to FTR, the future still remains pretty uncertain. One thing is for sure, at least for the short-term future, they're back in AEW, they're back on AEW television, and they've got their sights firmly planted on the AEW World Tag Team Championships and the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Gun. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts on FTR's return at AEW Revolution in the comment section below. Be sure to smash the like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.